What's happening, everybody? Trey here, joined again by my dad Sean, and today, Reactions to the Classics, we are going to review a man that's been quite familiar with this channel of late,
got that right.
And that's fine with me, Mr. Bob Dylan, Infidels, and this comes courtesy of a suggestion from one of our patrons and a guy that's been pretty much a day one supporter, our man Jimmy.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you, Jimmy, for everything.
Yeah, for the suggestion, the support. Another Dylan album that we both enjoyed, and this is your first time stopping by the channel. We appreciate it. Here at Reactions to the Classics, we take a look back at some of the most classic records of all time, do detailed track-by-track reviews, also have reactions and live streams, a bunch of fun stuff. So that sounds like something interesting to you, be sure to hit that big red subscribe button, and you can also link up with us on our Facebook group as well as Patreon if you'd like to send some suggestions our way and support us in that. And all that to say, let's get into the quick facts.
Well, this is his 22nd album. We won't say that too many times for too many artists. Released in October of 1983, was his biggest commercial and critical success in quite some time. Went to number 20 in the US, but did go gold. Went to number 9 in the UK, and it was kind of seen as his return to secular music. He had done some Christian albums. He wanted to produce it himself, kind of figured out that's tough to do. So he got Mark Knopfler, the lead singer of Dire Straits, to come in and do it with him. Knopfler also played guitar, and also Mick Taylor, the former lead guitarist of the Rolling Stones, is going to pop on here as well. One of the things is the fans and critics were disappointed that several of the songs were left off. Blind Willie McTell is considered one of Dylan's best songs that didn't appear on any formal album. So I know a lot of people were a little upset about that. This album's more personal, Trey. Has a lot more themes of love and loss than a lot of the previous stuff that we've listened to.
Yeah, and you know, as you mentioned, the songs that were chopped off, that's why you go past his studio records, he has all the bootleg series as well.
It intimidates me to death.
Oh,
There's like an insane amount of stuff out there.
So that's why I always like hearing from our our viewers that are huge Dylan heads and know, hey man, check out this.
Yeah, because they always come up with better versions of the songs that we like.
Exactly. So that's gonna segue us into a great opener, a Jokerman, which is, I find that Dylan often starts off his records real strong.
Very much so.
Tangled Up in Blue, we just did one on the tracks. Hurricane for Desire.
Yes.
Obviously, like a Rolling Stone, going back to his 60s work.
Blowing in the Wind.
There's so many, just great tunes. And this starts off much the same. We get into almost a Messiah-like figure, but as the song progresses in the verses, we figure out this guy isn't really here to save anybody but himself. And there were so many biblical allusions in here.
Yeah, he did not, just because it's not a quote Christian album, he definitely did not abandon the religious imagery.
And we have everything from talking about just name dropping Deuteronomy and Leviticus to walking on water, talking about the bread of life. We have a mention of a rich man in hell looking up, just like one of the parables Jesus said. We also have a funny line in there. I mean, it's kind of not like funny, but about Sodom and Gomorrah. Like, what are you gonna do? Bring them down to Sodom and Gomorrah? We know buddy's going to want to marry your sister there, since in the Bible it was filled with homosexual activity. So nobody's going to want to marry your sister there. I enjoyed that, and again, one of my favorite lines is it all comes to a head, that there's just perversion of power, or of the Jokerman himself, that he'll put the priest in his pocket, put the blade to the heat, take the motherless children off the street, and place them at the feet of a harlot. So I thought this was a solid tune.
I did too. It's one of my favorites on it. I thought the backing instrumentation was excellent here. That's going to bring us to the second track, Sweetheart Like You. This is one of them that features Mick Taylor and Mark Knopfler, who plays the lead guitar solo, which is great. At first, the song appears like it's rediscovering an old lover. However, some believe this was targeting the Christian church. People got a little upset for what they thought were some sexist lyrics in here. He said, "A woman like you should be at home. That's where you belong, taking care of somebody nice who don't know how to do you wrong." If you look at it towards a Christian church, then that's different. Even if you look at it towards a woman him, I mean, you could just take it at the fact that he's just saying you deserve to be with someone who appreciates you. For me, it's a good song.
Yeah, again, I noticed on this track and, the previous Jokerman that we had a more, it was almost like a more smooth delivery, vocal. And,
yeah, I thought his vocal was really good. Maybe he was off tour for a while. I don't know, but it seemed much stronger.
And it still had that power in it. And here, I view it as, yes, he's critiquing this sweetheart, whoever or whatever that might be, but he's also kind of, I think, has a little tinge of hope and almost empowering, or saying, hey, you can do much better than what you are right now. That was my perspective of it. And one of my favorite, it's probably my favorite line in the whole record, is in here towards the end: steal a little and they'll put you in jail, steal a lot and they'll make you the king.
I had that down, but I figured you would say it because you're the lyric man for it. Yeah, but I figured you'd say it because I actually have that written down here. Yeah, I thought that was a fantastic true statement as we live out life here in 2020. It kind of plays true. That's going to bring us to Neighborhood Bully. And this thing is an epic. It's 11 verses. It is about Israel. It's one of those tongue-in-cheeks. They're the neighborhood bully, but they're getting bullied by everyone. And every verse just talks about the irony of that.
Yeah, I thought it was definitely a unique, interesting take here, just noting how Israel's square in the middle of countries that just don't like them at all. This stemmed from at the time where they took out a bomb from, I believe it was Iraq.
Yeah, they take out the nuclear facility that was making the bombs, and then they were made out to be the bad guy because they took out the nuclear facility because they were assuming that Iraq was making bombs to use on them. I thought it was nice and more up-tempo.
Yes, it definitely was. Kind of propelled the track. The groove was
reminded
great.
me of some older stuff of his. That's going to bring us to the close of Side A with License to Kill. This is basically an indictment to mankind on the way we've treated the environment, man, that we think we can do whatever we want with it.
Yeah, and there was even in the last song, whenever we were talking about Neighborhood Bully, he name drops the phrase, everybody's got a license to kill in there, and I found that interesting that the following track was this, and there's a woman in there that's asking a question. She's kind of the constant there in that refrain, just asking a man in general who's going to take away his license to kill. I again thought it was a good thought-provoking track, and it
was much more chill than the previous track.
That's what I was going to mention. Instrumentally, it was more laid back with that guitar, organ, and harmonica interplay. I enjoyed the instrumentation and the backing band on this record more than some of the other Dylan records that I've heard. So.
Yeah, I think he's evolved as we're in 83 now, so music has changed, and he's changed with it to the fact that he does bring better production in the studio, maybe.
I'd agree with that.
A little more of a finished product.
And that goes back to him being smart, thinking that maybe technology had passed him by at this point, bringing in somebody else who was at the top of their game in this period. So I enjoyed that. Good way to end the A-side. Takes us to the B-side with Man of Peace. Here he's saying that Satan oftentimes comes as a man of peace.
Exactly.
And just the deception that is constantly brought forth in there. Obviously, this made me think, as somebody who knows the Bible really well, has a degree in religion, of the temptation of Jesus out in the wilderness, where Satan comes and almost as a man of peace, offering him food, offering him the kingdoms, offering him all power over the world. And Jesus obviously saw through the lies that was behind Satan, even though it looked like what he was offering up was good. So that's what brought mind to me, and I love that line. Sometimes Satan comes as a man of peace.
Yeah, and it's 6.5 minutes long. It reminds me of some of his older epic, interesting lyrics. And I kind of just wonder, we'll never know because Bob's never going to give you a straight answer of what particularly brought this. Maybe it was several things, but I don't think you write a song like this unless you've had some sort of experience or experiences.
Yeah, a target almost in mind.
Yeah, where someone maybe was nice to you or gave you things, or you thought they had your best interest at heart, but really they were just trying to hurt you. That brings us to Union Sundown, which... this one also is just going to come at you. It's dealing with unions, offshoring, getting all your products made somewhere else. You say you want to support America, but then you're paying for these products that were made somewhere else because they're much cheaper. Now, Trey, this was 1983.
Oh, yeah.
Now, in 2020, almost everything is made overseas. And he has some really fire lyrics. And I wonder, unions were huge in 1983. They're not as big now. I know there are a few huge ones still left, but in 1983 they were huge. So I wonder how that played out in culture with Bob going right at him. But I'm going to be the lyric guy for a minute.
Oh, I love it.
He says, you know, capitalism is above the law. I don't count unless it sells. When it costs too much to build it at home, you just build it cheaper someplace else. Democracy don't rule this world. You better get that through your head. The world is ruled by violence, so I guess that's better left unsaid. And then he says, lots of people complaining that there's no work. I say, why you say that for? When nothing you got is U.S. made, they don't make nothing here no more. And he also throws in the unions are big business, my friend. So he was really coming at it in this one. I like the lyrics and the fact that I think they just play out quite nicely with the story. I'm not a huge fan of the song itself, of just listening to it over and over, you know, but I respect it for the art form that it is.
Yeah, it's not one I'd go back and like repeat listen, but in the context of the album, you know, I think it works.
It fits.
It works well, and this is definitely him and his most biting and political on this record. Just a point by point, you know, declaration on greed and just breaking it down. And I found it a little bit of a coincidence here how he mentions that his belt buckles from the Amazon. Obviously, he's talking about the region, but you know, nowadays, what's the biggest corporation much there is? Amazon. And, you know.
Never even thought about that.
I'm not a big fan of old Jeff Bezos, but you know what? What do I order from more than any other site? It's Amazon.
Yeah, so Jeff doesn't strike us down over here so much, right? You immortalize that. But yeah, no, it's 100% true.
So, you know, I like the song, yet at the same time, I cringe a little because I see myself as one of those people that, man, I'd love for more USA jobs, this and that.
It's true.
Yet I'm part of the problem and the issue here. So then that's going to move us to the penultimate song, I and I.
When you look at these lyrics, a lot of people think they're about the difference between Bob's public persona and who he really is. Now, a lot of times when you're a celebrity, though, you put that public image forward when you're somebody else back here. But the flip side is that is people will just interpret you how they want, and that would be the frustrating part, when people think you're a certain way and you're really not, and you're not trying to put a front on. And I think that's kind of what he was getting at here. What do you think?
Oh yeah, and I've seen a video on YouTube actually from like 1965 or mid 60s of it's in black and white. Dylan's at this press conference and all these reporters are asking him what is this and that, and you know Dylan's just chill and he just kind of answers in the way only Dylan can, and I enjoy those, and that just kind of continued throughout his whole career. Bob's always had this mystique around him, and I think
probably why he's lasted as long as he has.
I think that is one of the reasons too people gravitate towards him, and you're not just a little bit into Dylan. I've noticed you're either
in or you either get it or you don't. Yeah, I've noticed that too.
And we had again some more cool little biblical allusions here. He mentions an eye for an eye and tooth for tooth, but it's not in the biblical sense like an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, but like you're gonna see each other eye for eye and tooth for tooth type of deal, kind of even with each other. Another line in there, no one sees my face and lives, reminds me of what God told to Moses, and then again kind of goes into like Moses saying, well, what should I tell the Israelites whenever they, you know, say who sent me, and God says, tell them I am sent you. So back to that I. So who knows? I could be reading too much into that, but I just that's what stood out to me, and cool, neat little track there. And then we move on to the final song.
Don't Fall Apart on Me Tonight. So we shift gears here into a total love song from my interpretation.
Yeah, which was really kind of the first, whereas Blood on the Tracks, what the last Dylan one we reviewed, it's all about love.
Yeah.
And then this was more kind of political and overarching in themes. Yeah. We ended...
And some introspective stuff for Bob. But yeah, we ended
with a love tune.
And this one presents a relationship talk involving life choices, lack of communication, and jealousy. Very good vocal on this one. Strong. This is one of my standouts.
Yeah, one of the lines that really stood out to me, I wished I'd have been a doctor. Maybe I'd have saved some life that have been lost. Maybe I'd have done some good in the world instead of burning every bridge I cross. And here he's again honest, noting his shortcomings in communication with his love, but he also still holds out hope that, hey, we can kind of reconcile this and still have a loving relationship even with the shortcomings. So this was more like a pessimistic record, I think, from start to finish, but we ended on a note of hope.
Hope, yeah. That's what I was going to say. Yeah, it's a good way to end it. That's going to bring us to our favorite tracks. The last one for me, Don't Fall Apart on Me Tonight, and Jokerman. So first one, last one, those are my favorites.
I'd also add in Man of Peace, just the storyline of it, and I like the second tune as well, just for the vocal performance in it, Sweetheart Like You. And then that'll take us to our overall score of the record. This is our first foray into the 80s for Bob in here. And I really did enjoy the backing band with Knopfler as well as Mick Taylor in there. I thought they brought some some great just guitars, as well as the organ in the background was nicely stated, didn't become too overbearing, as well as it's a succinct album, 8 songs. So
yeah, it is.
So for me, I'm going to be at a solid 8.0 on this record. I enjoyed it. I really did.
I enjoyed it too. It's different, as you said. I mean, it's 22nd out. For me, it's a solid 7.5. There's not a bad song on here. It's a good experience, like you said.
Let us know what you think of Infidels in the comments section below. As always, Dad, appreciate the research. And thank you again, Jimmy, for suggesting this record and for supporting us for pretty much since day one, man. You were our first patron, and we won't forget that, and we definitely appreciate that. And if you enjoyed this, be sure to hit that big red subscribe button, y'all. And until next time, happy listening, my friends. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see ya.